The proposed revision of the Unitarian Universalist bylaws identifies 6 values centered in love and inseparable from each other. On this third Sunday of winter, we call to mind the third such value, justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive, democratic processes to make decisions.
Good morning. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join in singing our opening hymn, number 317 in the Gray Hymnal. We are not our own, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living liturgy of care. Let us be a house of welcome, unyielding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Williams. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am your celebrant this morning.
And I'm the Reverend Meredith Garmon, Zizir or he, him, interim minister.
Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our church is located on land that has been home to various peoples in the last 12,000 years, including at the beginning of the European encroachment, the Iowa, Sauk, and Meskwaki. These lands were also once roamed by the gray wolf in vastly greater numbers than today. As we enter this space, the ghosts of humans and other animals past are among us. Let us recommit to understanding the history of the land it occupies and to owning our part in the work of education, reparation, and healing for all species.
Our purpose is to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion, as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful one to another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world.
This bond of union is reiterated in our mission to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically.
It is a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and you don't have to go it alone.
Today is the third Sunday of winter. The cold moon is waning crescent. The wolf moon will begin Thursday morning.
For Christians, yesterday was Epiphany, sometimes called Three Kings Day, commemorating the visit of the Magi to the baby Jesus. On the Julian calendar, today is December 25th, so for Orthodox Christians, as well as for Rastafarians, today is Christmas Day.
A special welcome to our visitors. If you are here with children, feel free to keep them seated with you or take advantage of our We Worship space in the back of the auditorium, where you and your child may play with toys and books. Newcomers are invited to a UU Curiosity conversation on the first Sunday of every month, which means there's one today. It's immediately after the service in the back of this auditorium sanctuary. Please silence your cell phones during the service. If you are joining us via Zoom, please make sure your mics are muted throughout the service.
Our theme for the month of January is pluralism. Our connection circles are small groups that gather to explore the monthly theme and build relationship. It's a key way that we live out our mission to grow ethically and spiritually. If you're not in one, please sign up and become part of a group. You can see the back of your order of service. And if you don't have a copy of Connecting, our in-house monthly periodical exploring our themes of the month, please do pick up the January issue from the basket just outside. We begin with the lighting of our chalice.
Please join me in our chalice lighting words in your order of service. This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. Our invocation is the responsive reading in the back of our gray hymnal. It's number 464 by Judy Chicago. That's 464. The side on my left will begin with me, and the side on my right with Reverend Garmon, and will respond to the indented, italicized words. And then all that has divided us will merge.
And then compassion will be wedded to power.
And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind.
And then both men and women will be gentle.
And then both men and women strong.
And then no person will be subject to another's will.
And then all will be rich and free and varied.
And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many.
And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance.
And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old.
And then all will nourish the young.
And then all will cherish life's creatures.
And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Remaining seated, please join in the sung invocation. The words can be found in your order of service. Open my heart to all that life brings. Let me be part of the love within.
Good morning. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am your faith formation and congregational life coordinator. This morning, our story is a story about pluralism in that it is a story about how we often get to the same place by very different means. This is The Race to the Top of the Tree by Kathleen Grossmeyer. Deep in a shadowed forest, high on the spreading branches of the great oak trees, just like the ones we have outside our window, there was a family of squirrels. It was a very large family, as squirrel families often are, with parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, dozens of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cousins. There were big squirrels and there were little squirrels, squirrels with light gray fur, squirrels with silver gray fur, squirrels with dark gray fur, and some with a touch of brown on their shoulders and backs. But they were each a little bit different. All of the squirrels had bright, inquisitive eyes and plumes of feathery, fluffy tails that could be flicked this way and that way from side to side. And all of the squirrels, every single one of them, from the smallest to the largest, from the lightest to the darkest, loved to climb trees. They climbed up, they climbed down, they climbed out on the branches to the tiniest part where the branches would sway up and down and up and down like a seesaw, only faster and higher and a lot scarier. But better than tree climbing and even better than tree seesawing was tree racing. Every day, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, the squirrels would hold races to see who could climb the fastest, who could jump the farthest, and who could climb the highest of all. But since they were squirrels and squirrels are always hungry, sometimes they would stop racing to eat a nut, completely forgetting that they were in a race at all. But that was all right, since they always had fun, whether they were eating or racing or just lying around being squirrels. One morning, on a brisk autumn day when acorns are falling with a plop and a platter all over the forest and leaves came wafting and wafting slowly down, 3 squirrels were having a discussion about the best way to get to the top of that tree.
Straight up the trunk.
Said the dark gray squirrel who was nibbling an acorn.
But the trunk doesn't go all the way to the top.
Said the light gray squirrel who was hanging upside down by her toes.
You have to go on the branches sometime.
But when? Said the third squirrel who had silver gray fur touched with brown. And which branch? She looked up to the leafy canopy above.
That big one over there.
Said the dark gray squirrel.
No, the crooked one on that side.
Said the light gray squirrel.
The big one.
Said the gray squirrel again.
The crooked one.
Said the light gray squirrel, and they got arguing with so much chittering and chattering and snipping of their teeth and snapping of their tails. This is silly. This is silly, said the silver gray squirrel, and finally, with a snap and a flick of her own fluffy tail, she said, stop talking about it and just do it. Have a race. Both the light gray and dark gray squirrel liked the idea, and the others did too. They gathered at the base of the great oak tree, dozens of them, for the great race to the top of the tree. Hundreds more came to watch. The racers waited for the start signal, ears perked, whiskers quivering, tails flicking just a little. And when the great grandmother squirrel of the forest dropped an acorn and the acorn hit the ground, they were off. Squirrels going this way, squirrels going that way, squirrels everywhere. They leapt for the trunk and dug in with their toes. Some, including, of course, the gray squirrel, raced straight up the tree trunk. Some ran up it going around and around, like climbing up a corkscrew slide, because that was more fun for them. Some squirrels didn't go up the trunk of the oak tree at all. Instead, they ran over to the big pine tree nearby and climbed up that all the way to the top, and then made a daring leap across open sky to reach the tip of an oak branch 15 feet away. There they clung, swaying up and down and up and down and up and down, until finally the branch stopped swaying and the squirrels could start climbing again. Now, the great oak of the forest is a very tall tree, and it is a very long climb to the top. Many of the squirrels, since they were squirrels, and squirrels are always hungry, stopped to eat an acorn or two along the way. Some never made it off the pine tree. They stopped there to nibble pine cones instead of acorns. Some of them had so much fun going around and around the trunk of the oak tree, chasing each other, that they stopped worrying about the race at all. But the dark gray squirrel did go up the big branch, and the light gray squirrel did go up the crooked branch. They went higher and higher, and the branches got thinner and thinner, and the wind grew stronger and stronger, and the ground got farther and farther away, and the sunshine grew brighter as they climbed above the leaves. Of all the squirrels, they were the only two who reached the very top of the tree, and they reached it at just about the same time.
It's pretty up here.
The dark gray squirrel said, holding on tight with all four paws as the very thin branches swayed to and fro in the very strong breeze.
Yes, it is.
Said the light gray squirrel, holding on tight as well.
Ready to go down?
Yes,
Said the dark gray squirrel.
let's go get some acorns.
So they did. And the silver gray squirrel? Why, she didn't climb the tree at all. She stayed down on the ground the whole time. After all, she said to herself, watching the other squirrels scamper away, it doesn't really matter how far or how fast or which way you go, or even if you go up a completely different tree. There are lots of ways to get to the top of the tree, or to other parts of the tree, or to different trees altogether. In fact, she said, picking up an acorn between her two front paws, you don't even have to climb a tree at all, because there are plenty of good things right down here on the ground too. We'll sing our children out now with the song in your order of service, the Children's Benediction. We've got a spotlight we did not include in the order of service. Walter, please join me.
Good morning. I'm Walter Gerson, he, him, and I'm the chair of the adult programming team. And we are here today to honor all of the people who have worked on our adult programs in 2023. So everybody who participated in organizing a class, helped organize a forum, a Soul Matters group, circle suppers, or connection circles, or who are on it. We're running 65 people today, some of whom were not here, but we want to honor you.
So as I mentioned some of these groups that people have participated in and supported this year, if you led one of these, would you please stand up and stay standing, or raise your hand if that works better for you. If you led a small group in 2023, like a Soul Matters group, a connection circle, or a circle of trust, please stand and stay standing. If you led a class, such as transgender inclusion in congregations, or some of our other classes that we have had, please stand and stay standing. If you are a first-time host for a circle supper, please stand and stay standing. If you presented at one of our forums after Sunday service, or you helped organize a forum, please stand and stay standing.
So after the service, we will have a flower for you, and we'll have a nice cake, and we can all join in celebrating these wonderful contributions to the congregation.
Thank you all so much for this service you have given this congregation. Now we will move on to our anthem with the choir.
Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Everyone is different, we're not all the same. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Be who you want to be without any shame. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open your hearts and open open your minds. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Listen very carefully to see what you find. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
People are hurting, wanting acceptance and grace.
Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Everyone is welcome, this is a safe space.
Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. We will not back down, fighting for the rights of all. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Let's unite our hearts in love and answer the call. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
In a place where everyone belongs.
Open the window, let the dove fly in. Let's open the window, find peace and rest. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Good morning. My name's Barb Glass, she, her, hers, and I'm a pastoral care associate. We are a community of memory and hope, a community of hands and hearts. We gather to share our laughter and our tears and to bear witness to one another as we journey through joys and sorrows. Now, Reverend Garmon tells me there are no joys and sorrows today, which I find absolutely unbelievable looking. Okay, all right. So I've got a couple to share. My own. I like to improvise. January 1st was would have been my husband's 84th birthday. So it was a day of joyful remembrance and sadness. Joy and sorrow together. Now, the other one was that it was a great joy yesterday when I received an email from Walter telling me that I would be recognized today by standing up as a person who organized the play reading group. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. So that's my sorrow. And at all that, it's very fortunate that that happened because now I have a chance to personally invite Meredith Garmon to be a thespian in the play reading group. Please join us. If you need to contact anyone in the pastoral care team, speak with me or any other member of the team or email pastoralcareteam@uscdsm.org. Let us now share together the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud or type it into the chat. As we share these names, may the love of this community hold them all. Mike. Karen. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we not look away when we are needed. May the grieving be comforted, the weary find rest, the broken places healed, and joy and laughter be abundant. We light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us.
Continuing in that spirit of meditation and reflection and prayer. On this Sunday, designated the Epiphany of the Lord in the Christian liturgical calendar, the visit of the Magi to the baby Jesus is celebrated. We have met the Magi, and they are us. We have, each of us, followed some metaphorical star to arrive here today. And we bring what gifts we have. We bring the gift that we are, to pay what homage we can to love, to the fact that love again and again becomes flesh and dwells among us, within us, and around us. At any given moment of any given day, we might be looking for a star, following a star, or offering our gifts in the place where a star has led us. For stars there are examples worth following, radiances of justice and love to others. Young adults from 48 countries recently attended the 46th European Taze Youth Meeting in Ljubljana, Slovenia. May the inspired youth carry their light onward and outward. Efrat Meyer, who is Jewish Israeli, is the principal, and Engi Watad is the Palestinian vice principal at Hand in Hand. Hand in Hand is a network of schools with branches in several Israeli cities and that enrolls Israeli and Palestinian children to grow in understanding and respect for all. Newly installed solar panels in a clinic in Maltawar, India, are saving lives by providing electricity for equipment to support infirm patients in a fossil fuel-starved region. Solar technicians are bringing the light of life, literally and figuratively. Poland welcomes a new governing party this month, shining the light of democracy while replacing autocracy for many nations. The world watches the new left-center government leadership of Donald Tusk and hopes for an example replicable in other nations. And the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago has announced that it will purchase enough renewable energy certificates in 2024 to cover the electricity consumption of all of its churches, schools, and hospitals. May its leadership in clean energy lead the way for other institutions. And may such stars as these inspire our hopes and our courage in these difficult times. We were shaken by the school shooting in Perry on Thursday morning. We know that lives everywhere matter equally, that a school shooting in Mozambique or India is as tragic as one less than an hour's drive away. But the heart attends more to those that are nearer, as it should. Though few of us allowed ourselves to consciously believe it couldn't happen in Iowa, it's hard not to slip into a tacit, unconscious assumption that we are safer than we in fact are. So we have some anxiety at the shattering of that illusion, or part of it, and we have some anger that our neighbors continue to elect legislators who won't do anything to curb this scourge. We also have some small relief upon learning that the toll of deaths and injuries wasn't any greater than it was. In these times, as in any time, we aspire to be a people who delight in what is good, confront what is cruel, and heal what is broken. For what has been said, and for all else that is on our hearts this morning, we observe a minute of silence.
me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
The reading is an excerpt from Langston Hughes' Let America Be America Again, written in 1935. I am the poor, white, fooled, and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek, and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream, beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. For I am the one who left dark Ireland's shore, and Poland's plain, and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand I came, to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be. The land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me. We come now to our offering. Contributions to our Faith in Action partners by members and friends may be made by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. Free Store helps provide household items to families recovering from domestic violence and other trauma. The Iowa Trans Mutual Aid Fund supports trans and gender diverse Iowans as they access gender affirming care. Our third principle is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. Our covenant is to accept one another, to take each other exactly as we are, for each of us is complete, beautiful, and perfect, lacking nothing, requiring no change. And our covenant is to encourage change, spiritual growth, for perfection is not static. Your ongoing growth and change is a part of your perfection. We find in the process a deepening of thanksgiving and of calling to generosity. Freely we have received of gifts, and gladly do we bring to our congregation a portion of this bounty. Thus the offering is gratefully given and gratefully received.
Happy New Year. What are the chances of that? I mean, what are your prospects for 2024? Being happier, or if last year was great for you, as happy as 2023? I am mindful that there will be health challenges for some of us in the year ahead, and health challenges come eventually for all of us, including eventually, inevitably, the one we will not surmount. And connected to our physical health, there is the matter of our social, spiritual health. We need each other. We need community. We need our peeps. A happy new year means a connected new year, a caring new year. A joyous new year means a loving new year. And a more liberated new year means steps taken not just toward your individual liberation, but toward collective liberation. Natural selection made us into hyper-social beings, not merely social like other apes are, like wolves and elephants and dolphins are, but able to connect our brains and see through each other's eyes at a level beyond any other species. I've mentioned before, no single human knows everything necessary to build a cathedral or an aircraft, and yet we can build them because we can connect our brains in shared enterprises. And that's an amazing and beautiful thing. We were built to do that, and to want to do that, and to need to do that. And natural selection also made us highly competitive at the group level. One key reason that bonding with each other has been so important to our species' survival is simply that it allows us to care for each other and carry out cooperative ventures that benefit all of us. But another key reason is that by bonding together, we can fight better against that tribe on the other side of the hill. Throughout our history as a species, the cozy, warm feeling of us has been inextricably intertwined with hostility to them. Early human and proto-human groups didn't merely band together, they banded together against other groups. And if they hadn't, they wouldn't have survived to pass on their genes to us. We are a deeply cooperative and a deeply competitive species. Cooperation within our group so that we can better compete with other groups. The trick is to expand our circle, to train ourselves in this complex, multicultural, multi-ethnic world we live in, to comprehend more and more difference as nevertheless part of us rather than them. Fortunately, this expand the circle impulse is also embedded in the human history we inherit. If there were only two groups, us and them, that would be fairly straightforward and stable. But from the dawn of humanity, there have been multiple groups. So then, our earliest ancestors started seeing if they could work out ways to maybe be more cooperative with Group B so that together we could outcompete Group C. So along with a very strong tendency to bond with our in-group and compete with out-groups, we are also built with a somewhat more cautious readiness to welcome the stranger, to appreciate, not merely be suspicious of, difference, to want to expand our circle. This openness to pluralism is, among humans, a variable trait. Some of us are more open to difference, and others are more interested in protecting the given us. Unitarian Universalists tend toward the appreciation of diversity end of the spectrum. We tend to score high on openness to difference. Some of our fellow humans are instead wired to feel a need to establish and defend some collective order of oneness and sameness. Difference scares them. The work of Australian political scientist Karen Stenner helps us understand this. Stenner argues that underlying racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, and xenophobia is something more fundamental: differenceism. The various forms of harmful prejudice are all variations of a basic anxiety about difference, an anxiety that produces, in Stenner's words, a fundamental and overwhelming desire to establish and defend some collective order of oneness and sameness. Another term for this is authoritarian personality, because these folks see authoritarian structures as the best way to keep us safe from those different people who are, in a recently exhumed turn of phrase, poisoning the blood of our country. In one of Stenner's studies, people scoring high for authoritarian personality were told that NASA had verified the existence of alien life, beings very different from us in ways we are not yet even able to imagine. After being told that, they measured racial intolerance of authoritarian subjects and found that their intolerance decreased by half. In other words, they're afraid of whatever is most different. If there are space aliens out there, then suddenly all humans are us, because the authoritarian personality's animosity focuses on whatever is most different. Stenner writes, "Black people look more like us than them when there are green people afoot." Under these conditions, the authoritarians didn't only become kinder to Black people, Stenner noted, they also became more merciful to criminals, that is, less inclined to want to crack down on perceived moral deviance. Stenner's book, The Authoritarian Dynamic, concludes that not everyone can learn to respect and value difference. She writes, "All the available evidence indicates that exposure to difference, talking about difference, applauding difference, are the surest way to aggravate those who are innately intolerant and to guarantee the expression of their predispositions in manifestly intolerant attitudes and behaviors." Journalist Connor Friedersdorf estimates that, quote, "perhaps 15% of humans are psychologically ill-suited to dealing with difference." He doesn't indicate where that 15% figure comes from. It seems to be his impressionistic guess. As a rough ballpark estimate, maybe that's about right. But whatever the number might be, we're never going to fix every individual. Never going to train our way to universal understanding and embrace of diversity, equity, and inclusion goals. And that's okay, because pluralistic inclusion has to also have a place for those who don't like difference. We just need systems that neutralize the authoritarian personalities so they don't inflict their phobias on others. It's a point increasingly recognized. Lily Zheng, a diversity, equity, inclusion strategy consultant, for instance, said, "We should design organizations that are equitable and inclusive, whether or not every single person inside those organizations is inclined the same way." And that's something to keep in mind as this congregation considers how we might move toward greater inclusion and pluralism. If, as Friedersdorf conjectured, perhaps 15% of humans are psychologically ill-suited to dealing with difference, the percentage of Unitarian Universalists who are is lower than that, but it isn't zero. A happy new year means a connected new year, a caring new year. But there is variability among us, not only in how much difference we are comfortable including in that circle of care, but also variability in how much difference we ever could learn to be comfortable including. Still, pluralism is an overarching value as Unitarian Universalists. It is our Unitarian Universalist covenant, as the proposed language for revising the UUA bylaws expresses, that we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Our watchword shall be, everybody belongs, and everybody belongs here. We know that there are other churches, other faith communities out there, and that some people will prefer those, and we are determined, however, that we would welcome any of them, whatever their culture or beliefs, and that our welcoming pluralism be so conspicuous that it is widely known that we would welcome them, and that any who walk through these doors will quickly perceive they belong and are appreciated, even those who aren't quite able to appreciate difference as much as our congregation as a whole does. So our task this year, as in every year, is twofold: to cultivate our capacity to embrace and appreciate ever greater difference, and given that this capacity itself is and will be variable among us, to seek ways to better ensure that our congregation as a whole is equitable and inclusive anyway. And now, our interlude. A more liberated new year means steps taken not just toward your individual liberation, but toward collective liberation. Freedom is relational. It really is true that none of us is free until all of us are free, for freedom, to whatever extent it is achieved, is a collective achievement. The master is as enslaved as the slave, even if not subject to the physical abuses, and that does matter. We are all in this together, and what we do to one another, we do to ourselves, because freedom is relational. Because every interaction we have with every other person can function to restrict ourselves and them, or it can help liberate us and them. Because we all have some kind of power, and we can use it against itself to diminish itself, or we can use it to nourish and expand shared power, what we call power with rather than power over. Because power over is always at the same time powerlessness under. Because freedom for most of us is half won, a half discovered blessing, and we need each other to proclaim the further emancipation. We have work to do. Because faith without works is dead, because it will not do to simply say, go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill, go, be emancipated, because we need each other to reach the promised land. Because the kingdom of God is within us, yes, but equally it is between us and among us. We have work to do. Because otherwise, identical resumes today yield a 50% greater chance of being invited for an interview if the applicant's name is stereotypically white than if the name is stereotypically black. Because black renters learn about 11% fewer rental units and black homeowners are shown about 1/5 fewer homes. Because blacks and whites use illegal drugs at the same rate, but African Americans are arrested on drug charges at a 3 times higher rate. Because 14% of non-Hispanic white children are growing up in poverty, while 40% of African American children are. We have work to do. Unitarian Universalists have been struggling with how to do the work of dismantling racism for as long as I can remember. We've been noticing that our congregations usually look a lot whiter than their surrounding communities and have been trying to figure out what to do about that for as long as I can remember. I have been occasionally participating in Unitarian Universalist efforts at anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism efforts, workshops, programs, and readings for 30 years, and sadly haven't seen a lot of progress. I was given a new hope for the possibility of congregational anti-racism work about 10 years ago by learning of the developmental model of intercultural sensitivity, DMIS. It's an approach that does not call anyone racist. It's not really about unconscious prejudices so much. It deftly bypasses any temptation to detour into squabbles about such things as whether members of oppressed minorities can be racist themselves or whether racism only applies to certain members of the privileged majority. It gives us a way to talk about important issues of cultural difference without bringing up the word racism at all. I think we do need to confront actual racism, recognize it and call it what it is, but we can work our way to that point more effectively with a stronger foundation, which it seems to me the DMIS, Developmental Model of Intercultural Sensitivity, provides. It's a developmental model. That is, it says that people develop through stages, like Piaget's stages of cognitive development, or Kohlberg's stages of moral development, or James Fowler's stages of faith development. The model was created by Milton Bennett and Mitch Hammer, who had been going to anti-racism trainings and noticing just what I'd been noticing, that about 1/3 of the white people were annoyed rather than enlightened. And they began to wonder why. Why do some people react this way and other people react a different way? Perhaps they're at different stages of development. Perhaps every stage is an important, helpful, and adaptive response to certain conditions. It has values which we can recognize. It's true that whatever is identified as a later stage of development will unavoidably seem to be judged better, but Unitarian Universalists, with our third principle, ought to be able to handle this. You'll notice our third principle says we affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. Notice the two aspects at work here. Acceptance of one another, exactly where they are and who they are, while at the same time, encouragement to growth, encouragement to grow into something other than what they are now. Is this a contradiction? Can we truly be accepting people just the way they are if we're also encouraging them to change? If you have ever been a parent or ever had a moderately loving and effective parent, then you know that this is no contradiction. We love our children just for what they are, while also encouraging their growth and development, because changing is what they are. Being a growing, changing being is what they are, and that process of development benefits from guidance. Many of us carry that same approach into our relationships with peers, with friends. We accept them for what they are, while also, when the time is right, call them on their stuff, offer them guidance, encourage their growth, as they do for us. So I'm hopeful about the prospects for UUs to work together to guide ourselves to greater levels of intercultural sensitivity, while also understanding, welcoming, and appreciating those who may happen to be at an earlier stage. Development of intercultural sensitivity happens in stages. There are 5 stages, which I'll briefly describe. There's more detail in this month's Pluralism issue of Connecting, and still more detail available on the internet. Just search DMIS. Stage 1, denial. There is a lack of awareness of diversity. It's not possible for adult members of minorities to be entirely unaware of diversity, but some members of the majority can exist within a bubble such that they rarely encounter cultural difference. Stage 2, sometimes called polarization, sometimes called defense. This comes in 2 versions, and both versions involve an us versus them mindset. The first version is straight defense. We bunker in, defensively protecting us and demonizing them, those who are different. The second version is reversal. This is where one romanticizes and privileges a culture other than one's own. In reversed polarization, one privileges them while demonizing us. But it's still polarization of good culture and bad culture. Stage 3, minimization. This is kind of a return in the direction of denial, except that people at this stage do recognize cultural differences, but they downplay their importance. Cultural differences are all seen as superficial because deep down, we're all the same. Minimization overemphasizes commonality. Stage 4 is acceptance. We might also call it openness and curiosity. At this stage, there's an understanding the cultural differences are real and profoundly meaningful. This much was also understood at the polarization stage, but whereas polarization involves demonizing one side or the other of that difference, the acceptance stage involves curiosity and openness about differences. Difference is recognized as important, but difference is explored without judgment or evaluation. And stage 5, adaptation, also known as intercultural competence. Intercultural competence is the ability to shift cultural perspective and adapt behavior to fit with the other person's culture, recognizing both similarities and differences of their culture with yours. It's not assimilation. Assimilation is a permanent change from your original culture to a new culture. Adaptation, or intercultural competence, involves the ability to make temporary shifts into a different culture in order to more effectively deal with a particular situation. So at what stage do you think that you are? What we find is that most Unitarian Universalists are in the middle, at the minimization stage. We love to say that people are basically the same, minimizing the powerful difference that culture makes. There are commonalities, but let us not diminish real difference. the path of liberation, leads ultimately beyond minimization to acceptance and adaptation, and many of us, if not all, can joyously take that path. May it be so. Amen.
Please rise and body your spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, number 194 in the gray hymnal, Faith is a Forest.
Faith is a forest in which doubts play and hide. Inside can hear the still small voice deep inside. Web of life, may this thread I weave. Strength and commitment to all I believe. Giant, be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Seeds of both meek and strong are scattered in air. Dignity shines undimmed by bigotry's glare. Web of life, may this thread I weave. Help me bear witness to all I believe. With this be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Fortune and famine ride the swift winds of chance. Sorrow and pleasure seem united in dance. Web of life, may this thread I weave. Mingle compassion with all I believe. Mercy be my guide as I seek my way. Me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Please say with me our unison chalice extinguishing words. We have a calling in this world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect differences with dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are people of a wide path. Let us be wide in affection and go our way in peace.
A joyous new year is a loving new year. A liberated new year is one of collective liberation. May we make it so and go in peace.